Hi everybody, welcome back to Hunt Hill at Home. Happy Tuesday and happy Earth Week. This is our second day in Earth Week and tomorrow is actually Earth Day, so I'm looking forward to that. And if you remember, I don't remember how long ago it was, maybe last Friday? A week ago Friday, when we made these planters out of newspaper and then we planted our plants. Mine are starting to pop up. Take a look. Now I'm seeing that my plants in this one, which I planted only 1 inch deep, are quite a bit taller than my plants in the other one that I planted 3 inches deep. But we'll see over time whether it turns out they'll be about the same or they'll be different. They both popped up about the same time though, which is pretty amazing. They popped up on Sunday. Now, the connection between these plants that I have planted and my topic today is that these plants were actually planted in compost that we made at Hunt Hill. So we have a compost tumbler, which is pretty big and can hold a lot of stuff. Now, most households don't create a whole lot of food waste, and so you don't necessarily need a huge composter for every household. Plus, some people don't have enough space for you to have some large tumbler, or it just might not be convenient for you. So we're going to be doing, making our own mini compost tumblers, and they're going to be made out of what I'm sitting on right now, which is just a regular old Tupperware bin. This is the type of thing that you could get at Walmart, Target, any of those sorts of places, and they're pretty cheap. What you're going to need to do this is, if you're a child, you're going to need adult assistance. You're going to need some protective equipment like goggles and gloves, and then you're going to need a drill. Or alternatively, you could also use a hammer and a nail, because we're going to be creating holes in this. So I'm going to use my drill because it's a lot faster than pounding a whole bunch of holes. Let's get started. So when you're making this, you want to have holes on every single side. I've already started a little bit, so you don't have to watch me drill holes for like all day. So I have drills on the side, I have drill holes on this side and this side. So all I have to do is the bottom and the top now. You want to make sure that you choose a container that has a tightly fitting top. You don't want these to come popping open when you're mixing things up and tumbling them around. So I'm going to just drill a few holes in here. And I'll flip it over and I'll drill holes there too. All right, we are all set. So I drilled some holes in the bottom and the top, and I already drilled holes on the sides. Now these holes are important because they let the water drip out in case there's too much moisture in there, and they also will help out with making sure that new bacteria and other organisms are introduced into your compost. Now, it's really important that you have bacteria in your compost, otherwise it's going to take a long time to break down. That bacteria is a good thing because it's going to be consuming all the little bits and really making it into what you know as compost. Now, it's also really important that you get air into your compost, because all these little bits of bacteria and other organisms need air to do respiration. If they don't get air, they will die and your compost is not going to continue. So Now that we've got a good container that's ready for us to make compost in, what do we actually put in compost? Well, I have some things with me today to show. So, when you're first starting out a container, you're going to want to put down a base layer, and this base layer can just be some dirt. Now, once you get one started, you're not going to have to do this again. You can just leave a little bit of your compost from the last section and use it again to get started. But the dirt will introduce some bacteria in here and just going to provide a little bit of space for air and things to flow around. So I'm going to dump some dirt in here. Some of the dirt's going to come out the holes. It's fine. So I have enough dirt to cover the bottom here. Then I also need two different types of things. And they are called our green and our brown material. Green material is what you think about putting in compost usually. It's the stuff that is in your kitchens, things like food scraps and potato peels and orange peels and all of those things that you don't eat but they're left over from your food. I keep them in a sealed container like this in my kitchen, and I dump it each week so that it doesn't get too smelly. This stuff alone will get very smelly because it doesn't have the right mixture of things to start to neutralize it. So here I have mine. It's got a lot of eggshells in it. It's got some potato peels and some peppers in there, and I can just dump that right in. All right. And then this can be rinsed and put back in my kitchen so I can continue collecting throughout the rest of the week. So that's my green materials. You can also put in things like grass clippings. Those are green materials as well. They don't have to necessarily be green to be considered a green material. Green just means that it has lots of nitrogen in it. So living plants, fresh plants, things like grasses or fresh leaves are all green materials. You also want your brown materials. Now, the same thing, brown materials aren't always brown, but they often are. So, the brown materials I have are things that are typically dried wood products. Things like leaves, or sticks, or pine needles, or sawdust. Now you have to be careful. If you add too many pine needles or too much sawdust, it can start to get acidic in there. So you want to add a little bit of a lot of things. Other things that might be brown materials are grasses, if they're dried and not green anymore, and also paper products. Now, if you've got paper products that you can recycle, I would suggest recycling them first. But if you can't recycle them because they came in contact with food or they are wet or for whatever reason, they can go in your compost. Now, you want to make sure that you get 3 bits of brown material for every 1 bit of green material. So I used buckets to measure that out to see how much I got of each. Once you've got your compost tumbler all set up, you can cover it up and you can roll it around, you can shake it, you can do whatever you want. This is a great activity for the whole family. No one will be able to say they can't mix the compost tumbler because it's a lot lighter than those big ones and a lot cheaper. Now, you want to be checking on it periodically and looking to see how damp it is in there. If you're finding that it's very dry, you want to add some water. Add just enough water that it is damp in there, but not so much that it's soaking wet. You don't want it to be dripping wet, and that's because you want the bacteria to have enough water to use, but not enough that they can't respire or do respiration. So I'm adding a little bit of water to this. And then I'm going to let it sit in a sunny place. The heat is going to help accelerate the process of it decomposing. Now, some people also call this decomposing a degrading. After a while, it will degrade to a level where you can't really tell what is in there. It's going to be just kind of a mash. So here's my finished compost. When you have finished compost, you can smell it. It should not smell like anything in particular. It shouldn't smell like oranges or grapefruit or bananas or whatever you put in there. It should just smell like dirt, or maybe, to me it smells like the dirt after a fresh rain. Like, it smells really nice. And you shouldn't see any large chunks of anything. In this one, you can see a few large chunks of eggshells because I don't take the time to really crunch up my eggshells, and that's okay. But if you want to make sure it goes fast, you can really crunch up all of the things so that they degrade faster. Now, I just remembered that I forgot to say my joke of the day, so I'll come back to it right now. Here's our joke of the day. Why did the gardener refuse to use compost? It was degrading. It's not actually degrading to use compost. It's actually very good for your garden, and it's good for the environment. It's also going to be very helpful. You'll reduce the amount of trash that you produce in your house, and it's going to make it so your trash can is not so smelly. With things not decomposing in your trash, you're just going to have plastics and those sorts of things, which is going to really, really help. So thank you all for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed this and you get a chance to compost at your home. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!